The plasma bolt meant to vaporize Admiral Kestra Valdez's head missed by 3 millimeters, leaving a smoking crater in the bulkhead behind her command chair. She didn't flinch. Instead, she calmly adjusted her tactical display as her flagship. Retribution's edge shuddered under the coordinated barrage from 12 hegemony dreadnoughts. "Ma'am, they're demanding our immediate surrender," Communications Officer Ren Okamoto called out, his voice steady despite the tremor in his hands. "They're claiming you're a war criminal under Galactic Statute 77 Alpha." Kestra's laugh was sharp as titanium. "War criminal? That's rich. Coming from the species that glassed Proxima Colony." She turned to her weapons officer, a scarred veteran named Tobias Kruger. "Toby, remind them what humans think of their statutes." The bridge crew, what remained of Earth's finest, watched their admiral with something approaching reverence. 6 months ago, Kestra Valdez had been humanity's most decorated fleet commander, the woman who'd held the Centauri line against impossible odds. Then the Galactic Council had branded her a rogue agent, sent their best killers after her, and declared humanity an aberrant species requiring immediate pacification. They'd underestimated her badly, launching the Time-Adder torpedoes, Kruger announced, his fingers dancing across holographic controls. "Full spread, targeting their command vessels." The space around Earth's moon erupted in nuclear fire as the last remnants of humanity's military, my 47 ships against the Council's enforcement fleet of 300, opened there, guns in defiance of the galaxy's most powerful alliance. This wasn't just a battle. It was humanity's final statement before extinction. Kestra's path to this moment had begun with a single question. She posed to the Council 6 months earlier. Why are human colonies forbidden from developing beyond level 3 technology? The answer had come in the form of Vorthic assassins materializing in her quarters, their plasma blades singing through the air where her head had been moments before. She killed them all with a ceramic knife in her bare hands. The subsequent investigation had revealed the truth that the Council had murdered billions to keep hidden. Humanity wasn't just another species. They were the direct descendants of the ancients, the mythical race that had seeded the galaxy with faster-than-light technology before vanishing into legend. Human DNA contained sequences that could unlock ancient ruins, activate dormant technologies, and access weapons that could reshape galactic civilization. The Council had spent 10,000 years ensuring no species discovered this truth. They'd manipulated wars, caused famines, orchestrated plagues, anything to prevent the galaxy's younger races from realizing their potential. Humanity's rapid technological advancement had terrified them into action. "Admiral, we're receiving coded transmissions from the asteroid belt," Okamoto reported. It's Captain Morrison's strike group. They've secured the ancient facility on Ceres." Kestra's eyes blazed with savage satisfaction. While the Council had sent half their fleet to destroy her, she'd sent her most trusted commanders to breach the archaeological sites that had been declared off-limits to all sentient life. Morrison's team had found what she'd hoped for, functioning ancient battleships, their systems locked behind genetic codes that only human DNA could unlock. "Tell Morrison he has 10 minutes to get those ships online," she ordered, watching as another human vessel, the destroyer Vengeance, disappeared in a ball of plasma fire. 37 ships left. After that, we either win this fight or we take the Council with us. The bridge trembled as enemy fire punched through their failing shields. Outside the viewport, the blue-green jewel of Earth hung in space, its 6 billion inhabitants unaware that their fate was being decided in the void above their heads. The Council's ultimatum had been clear: surrender Kestra Valdez for trial and execution, or watch humanity burn. Instead, she gathered every human warship still capable of flight, loaded them with volunteers who'd rather die fighting than live as slaves, and positioned them between Earth and annihilation. The Council wanted to erase humanity from existence. They'd have to go through Earth's last admiral first. Energy spike detected. Kruger shouted, "The Council flagship is charging." Their planet killer. Kestra smiled, cold and predatory. They thought this was the end of her story. They were about to learn it was just the beginning. The hegemony super dreadnought Divine Judgment stretched for kilometers from bow to stern, its hull bristling with enough firepower to sterilize a continent. At its heart sat High Arbiter Quindish, his crystalline exoskeleton reflecting the tactical displays that showed humanity's pathetic fleet in perfect detail. 37 primitive vessels, he mused to his bridge crew, his telepathic voice resonating through their neural implants. against 300 of the Council's finest warships. This Admiral Valdez has chosen a remarkably theatrical method of suicide. The human formation was desperate tight clusters of destroyers and cruisers surrounding the handful of battleships they still possessed, all accelerating directly toward the Council fleet's center. Classical human tactics, brute force applied, without subtlety or intelligence. High Arbiter, his tactical coordinator post. The humans are broadcasting on all frequencies. Audio signal. Let's hear this species' final words, Quindish commanded. Kestra Valdez's voice cut through the static, calm and deadly. Attention Council fleet. You came to my system. You threatened my people. You made this personal. A pause, filled only by the crackling of spaceborne interference. I'm about to show you why that was a mistake. Quindish's mandibles clicked in amusement. Charge the stellar converter. Target the third planet. When Admiral Valdez witnesses her homeworld's death. Shell. The sensor ray exploded in warnings. Energy signatures beyond classification were erupting throughout the asteroid belt massive forms, emerging from concealment behind mining platforms and defunct habitats. Ships, ancient ships, their hulls gleaming with technologies that predated the Council by millennia. Impossible, Quindish breathed. The ancient facilities were sealed, genetically locked. High Arbiter. The communications officer's telepathic scream cut through the bridge. New contacts. 12. No. 15 ancient dreadnoughts accelerating toward our position. Energy. Signatures they're off the scale. The lead ancient vessel. Its hull a seamless blend of metal and energy, transmitted on frequencies that made the Council's most advanced equipment howl in protest. The voice that emerged was recognizably human, but backed by harmonics that spoke of technologies beyond comprehension. This is Captain David Morrison aboard the ancient vessel Eternal Wrath, all Council ships. You have 30 seconds to withdraw from Sol System before we demonstrate why our ancestors were gods among the stars. Quindish's exoskeleton flushed with rage colors. Impossible. Humans are a level 3 species. They couldn't operate a shuttle, let alone. The nearest ancient dreadnought opened fire. The weapon struck the Council's forward screening Element 6 heavy cruisers in perfect formation and simply erased them. Not destroyed, not vaporized, erased. Where moments before there had been ships, crew, and hope of survival, now there was only empty space and expanding clouds of constituent atoms. All ships. Quindish's telepathic roar flooded the command network. Concentrate fire on the ancient vessels. Code Black authorization use antimatter charges. The Council fleet wheeled like a school of predatory fish, their formation flowing into attack vectors that had been practiced for centuries. 300 ships, each one a masterwork of galactic engineering, unleashed enough firepower to crack a moon. The ancient vessels absorbed the barrage without apparent effort. Their shields, if they could be called shields, rippled with colors that had no names, deflecting energies that should have reduced them to plasma. The return fire was surgical, precise beams that punched through Council shields, as if they were gossamer, coring ships with contemptuous ease. But it was Kestra Valdez who drew first blood in close combat. Her flagship, Retribution's Edge, had continued its suicidal charge toward the Council center. Ignored by commanders focused on the ancient threat, now she was inside their formation. Her guns speaking at point-blank range. All batteries, fire. She commanded, and her ship became a star of nuclear fury. The Council light cruiser Ascending Peace took the full broadside amidships, its elegant hull splitting like rotten fruit. Secondary explosions walked along its length as atmosphere vented through rents in its armor, carrying with it the frozen corpses of its crew. But Kestra's ship paid the price for its audacity. 3 heavy destroyers converged on Retribution's Edge, their plasma cannons turning sections of her hull into molten slag. The bridge shook as bulkheads failed and emergency klaxons screamed. Hull breach on decks 7 through 12. Kruger reported, blood streaming from a gash on his forehead. We've lost main power to the forward batteries. Then we fight with what we have left, Kestra snarled, feeling her ship die around her even as she guided it toward the next target. Through the tactical display, she watched as Morrison's ancient vessels carved through the Council's right flank like hot blades. Through ice, 15 ships against 300, and the impossible was happening. They were winning. The space around Earth became a charnel house of burning hulks and expanding debris fields. The Council had expected to conduct an execution. Instead, they found themselves in the first battle they fought against peers in over a millennium. High Arbiter Quindish watched his fleet die in increments. Each lost a dagger in his tactical philosophy. These weren't the humans he'd studied, primitive, easily manipulated, confined to a handful of systems. These were warriors awakened to their true heritage. Send the recall signal to all surviving units, he commanded, his exoskeleton now pale with defeat colors. Full retreat to Morrison's voice cut across all frequencies. Retreat denied. The ancient ships moved. The ancient vessel Eternal Wrath moved through space like death-given form. Its impossible geometry shifting through dimensions that hurt to observe directly. Captain David Morrison stood on its bridge of the swirling nexus of consciousness and technology could be called something so mundane his human mind interfaced directly with systems that had been old when the first stars formed. All council vessels attempting to withdraw, he reported, his voice carrying harmonics that spoke of power beyond mortal comprehension. Kestra, they're trying to break for hyperspace. Admiral Valdez's response crackled with static and fury. Negative. Let none of them leave. The council sent killers to murder me in my sleep. Now they'll learn what happens when you wake a sleeping predator. Her flagship, Retribution's Edge, was dying around her. Half her guns were silent. Her shields were failing, and the bridge reeked of burned electronics and spilled blood. But her eyes blazed with the fire that had made her humanity's greatest naval commander. Toby, she called to her weapons officer, who was nursing a plasma burn on his left arm. How many antimatter torpedoes do we have left? 18, ma'am. But the forward tubes are... I don't care about the forward tubes. Load everything we have into the aft launcher. I want every last warhead. High Arbiter Quindish watched the tactical display with growing horror. As his fleet's ordered retreat dissolved into chaos, the ancient vessels had somehow projected an interdiction field that prevented hyperspace jumps, technology that shouldn't exist, wielded by a species that had been cataloged as barely capable of coherent spaceflight. High Arbiter, his second-in-command, pulsed. We're receiving emergency transmissions from Task Force Meridian. They report total losses, 15 council ships. Gone in as many minutes. The ancient weapons didn't just destroy their targets, they unmade them, reducing proud vessels and their crews to constituent atoms with surgical precision. Each loss was reported in the same hollow tones. Contact lost. No debris field. No survivors. This is impossible, Quindish muttered, his crystalline form flickering with stress patterns. Council intelligence assured us that humans were millennia away from unlocking ancient technology. Our xenoarchaeologists confirmed that genetic locks, sir. The tactical coordinator's mental scream cut through his ruminations. The human admiral ship is accelerating directly toward us. On the display, Retribution's Edge had broken from her formation and was burning at maximum acceleration. Toward the council flagship, her hull glowed cherry red from atmospheric friction as she dove through the debris field of her own destroyed escorts, her remaining guns blazing defiance at anything that dared to intercept her. She's insane, Quindish breathed. A single human battleship against a super dreadnought? What does she hope to accomplish? The answer came in the form of 18 antimatter torpedoes launched from Retribution's Edges. Aft tubes, their courses, calculated not for maximum damage, but maximum humiliation. They streaked toward divine judgment in a perfect formation that spelled out a message. In the ancient human alphabet, FUCKYOU, point defense, Quindish roared. Stop those missiles. The super dreadnought's defensive batteries came alive, filling space with intersecting fields of coherent energy. 16 of the torpedoes died in brilliant flashes of annihilation. To reach their target, the explosions gouged massive craters in divine judgment's hull, each detonation equivalent to a small star's death throes. The flagship staggered under the impact, its shields collapsing as secondary fires spread through 17 decks. But it survived. Kestra Valdez had made her point. Attention Council Fleet. Her voice broadcast across all frequencies, calm despite the fact that her ship was now under concentrated fire from 6 heavy cruisers. You came to my system to execute me for asking inconvenient questions. You threatened to sterilize my homeworld because you feared what humanity might become. Let me show you what we are when you push us too far. Morrison's ancient vessels had reformed into a battle line that defied three-dimensional thinking, their position shifting through space-time in patterns that made seasoned council navigators weep blood. They moved with purpose now, no longer content to simply repel the invaders. They were hunting. The council cruiser Merciful Silence died first. Caught between the ancient dreadnoughts that fired simultaneously, the ship simply ceased to exist. Its atoms scattered across several light minutes of space. Its sister ship, Righteous Judgment, lasted 3 seconds longer before suffering the same fate. High Arbiter, the communications officer pulsed desperately. Fleet Command is demanding a full tactical report. They're asking why we haven't completed the pacification mission. Quindish's mandibles clicked in dark humor. Tell Fleet Command that their intelligence was flawed. Humanity isn't a level 3 species facing extinction. They're level 15, possibly higher, and they're angry. The space around Earth had become a graveyard of council ambitions. Debris fields marked the passing of vessels that had been the pride of galactic civilization, their crews now joining the cosmic dust from which they'd come. The humans had lost ships, 2 brave destroyers and cruisers that had charged into certain death to buy time for their ancient allies to deploy, but for every human vessel destroyed, 5 council ships joined them in oblivion. Sir, the tactical coordinator reported, we're detecting massive energy buildups from the 3rd planet. The humans appear to be awakening something. Earth itself was changing. Ancient installations buried beneath oceans and continents were coming online, their energy signatures painting the planet's surface in patterns of light that could be seen from space. Humanity's 6 billion inhabitants looked up at skies filled with aurora as their world remembered what it had been in the galaxy's youth, the ancients' greatest stronghold. High Arbiter Quindish realized, with the crystal clarity that comes with impending doom, that the council hadn't sent him to execute a rogue admiral. They'd sent him to wake a sleeping god, and she was very, very angry. Earth's surface blazed with patterns of light that had been dark for 10 million years. Ancient installations buried beneath the Mariana Trench and the Antarctic ice sheets hummed to life, their energy signatures creating aurora displays that painted the sky in impossible colors. 6 billion humans looked up in wonder as their homeworld remembered its true nature. Admiral Kestra Valdez felt the change through her command interface. The dying Retribution's edge suddenly surged with new power as ancient technology integrated with human engineering, her damaged systems healing themselves with nanomachines that rewrote matter at the molecular level. Ma'am, Communications Officer Okamoto called out, his voice filled with awe. We're receiving a transmission. It's from Earth itself. The voice that emerged from the speakers was chorus and symphony, the collective consciousness of humanity's homeworld awakened after eons of slumber. Children of Terra, inheritors of the ancient legacy, you have been judged worthy. Rise and reclaim your birthright among the stars. Every human vessel in the battle zone underwent the same miraculous transformation. Ships that had been crippled and dying suddenly blazed with energy signatures that made council sensors scream warnings. Weapons that had been primitive by galactic standards now operated on principles that their enemies couldn't comprehend. High Arbiter Quindish watched his tactical display dissolve into chaos as human ships that should have been easy prey became apex predators. The destroyer Sarah's Revenge, previously armed with crude missile launchers, now projected beams of coherent gravity that folded space-time itself into weapons. Where they struck, council vessels didn't explode, they collapsed into singularities that winked out of existence. This is impossible, he pulsed to his bridge crew, his crystalline exoskeleton now white with terror patterns. Earth was catalogued as a primitive world. Our surveys showed no signs of ancient technology. His science officer's response carried undertones of hysterical laughter. High Arbiter, the entire planet is an ancient construct. The continents, the oceans, even the magnetic field is all artificial. Earth isn't just where humanity evolved. It's where the ancients built their greatest weapon. The transformation wasn't limited to ships. Human commanders found their minds expanding, interfacing directly with tactical systems that revealed the battle in dimensions beyond the merely physical. They could see probability streams, quantum fluctuations, the mathematical poetry that governs space and time itself. Captain Morrison's voice resonated across the battle zone. No longer entirely human, all units, new formation, pattern Omega-7. Let's show the Council what their ancestors feared. The combined human-ancient fleet shifted into a configuration that defied military doctrine. Ships moved through space in spirals. That created gravitational eddies, their weapons firing in sequences. That built harmonics in the quantum foam itself. Each shot was precisely calculated not just for immediate damage, but for resonance effects that would cascade through enemy formations. The Council cruiser squadron designated Righteous Blade found themselves caught in this new tactical reality. The lead ship, Moral Certainty, opened fire on what appeared to be a lone human destroyer. Her shot was perfected direct hit that should have vaporized the target. Instead, the destroyer's hull absorbed the energy and reflected it back amplified. Tenfold, moral certainty vanished in a flash of her own weaponry, turned against her with surgical precision. All ships, Quindish transmitted desperately. New targeting priorities. Concentrate fire on the ancient vessels. Ignore the primitive ships. But there were no primitive ships anymore. The human fleet had become something unprecedented in galactic history. Mortals wielding God's weapons. With the fury of a species that had been marked for extinction, the heavy, cruiser benevolent authority learned this lesson. When she targeted the human battleship Defiant Freedom, the human commander, a scarred veteran named Elena Vasquez, smiled as her ship's ancient enhanced systems analyzed the incoming plasma barrage. She didn't dodge. Instead, she opened a dimensional fold that swallowed the Council's attack and deposited it directly inside Benevolent Authority's reactor core. The explosion was visible from Mars. High Arbiter, the navigation officer pulsed. I'm detecting massive gravitational anomalies throughout the system. The humans are. They're moving planets. Quindish's attention snapped to the long-range sensors, and his worst fears were confirmed. The gas giants in the outer system were shifting their orbits, their massive gravitational fields being manipulated like chess pieces by technology that treated physics as a polite suggestion. Jupiter's great red spot was brightening, transforming from a storm into something far more terrible. They're turning the entire system into a weapon. He realized every planet, every asteroid, every grain of cosmic dust is all part of their battle formation. Admiral Valdez's voice cut through the tactical network, carrying harmonics that spoke of power beyond imagining. Attention, Council fleet. You wanted to see what humanity could become. We are the ancients' children, inheritors of technologies that shape galaxies. We are the species you tried to murder in our cradles because you feared. This moment, the space around Earth pulsed with energies that made stars seem dim. Surrender now, or learn why our ancestors were worshipped as gods. High Arbiter Quindish looked at his tactical display, where 300 of the galaxy's most advanced warships were being systematically dismantled by 47 human vessels and their ancient allies. Each Council loss was reported in the same holotomes: vaporized, collapsed, erased from existence. But it was the silence from Fleet Command that truly terrified him. No reinforcements were coming. No tactical updates were being transmitted. The greatest military force in galactic history was on its own, facing an enemy that had just remembered how to reshape reality itself. Sir, his weapons officer pulsed quietly. What are your orders? Quindish stared at the tactical display for a long moment, watching as another squadron of Council ships vanished into probability cascades. When he finally responded, his telepathic voice carried the weight of civilizational collapse. Signal all remaining units. Battle formation desperate are. If we're going to die here, we'll take as many of them with us as possible. The real battle was about to begin. The space around Earth became a furnace of competing energies as the Council fleet committed to their final gambit. High Arbiter Quindish had ordered the activation of Planet Killer Protocol 7, a tactical doctrine so devastating that it had only been used twice in galactic history, both times to sterilize worlds that had fallen to the Devourers. All ships. His telepathic command flooded the Council network. Concentrate fire on the third planet. If we cannot defeat them, we ensure they die with their homeworld. 237 surviving Council vessels wheeled into a perfect sphere formation around Earth, their weapon systems drawing power from overloaded reactors pushed beyond safe parameters. The plan was simple and brutal: punch through the human ancient defensive screen and glass the planet before its awakened systems could fully deploy. Admiral Valdez felt the shift in enemy tactics through her expanded consciousness. Her mind now interfaced with systems that revealed the battle in four dimensions. Earth's 6 billion inhabitants were counting on her not just for survival, but for the chance to claim humanity's rightful place among the stars. All human vessels, she transmitted, her voice carrying harmonics that resonated through quantum space. They're targeting our homeworld. Full defensive formation, pattern Aegis Omega. Nothing gets through. The human fleet, now 43 ships after losses during the initial engagement, moved with precision that defied their previous tactical doctrine. They weren't fighting like humans anymore. They were fighting like the inheritors of ancient tactical philosophy. Their movements choreographed across probability matrices that accounted for quantum uncertainty. Captain Morrison's eternal wrath led 15 ancient dreadnoughts in a flanking maneuver that folded space-time itself. His ships emerged from dimensional folds directly behind the Council's southern formation, their weapons charging with energies that made nearby stars flicker. First target acquired, Morrison announced, his consciousness distributed across 17 different tactical systems. Council supercruiser Infinite Mercy sheathed the formation anchor. The ancient weapons fired in perfect synchronization, each being precisely calibrated to create harmonic interference patterns. Infinite Mercy didn't explode, she resonated herself apart, her molecular structure vibrating at frequencies that tore her atoms from their quantum foundations. Where a 4-kilometer warship had existed moments before, now there was only expanding gas and the screams of her crew across radio frequencies. But the Council's desperate gambit was working. Their concentrated fire punched through the human defensive screen in 17 places, overwhelming ancient shields through sheer volume of destruction. The human heavy cruiser Vengeance Incarnate took direct hits from 6 plasma cannons simultaneously, her hull vaporizing layer by layer until her reactor core breached in a miniature supernova. Captain Lisa Chen's final transmission was a snarl of defiance. Tell them we don't surrender." 83 crew members died with their ship, their sacrifice buying precious seconds for their squadron to reposition. But the Council pressed their advantage ruthlessly. 3 more human vessels, the destroyer's Last Hope, Retribution, and Freedom's Price, died under concentrated fire, their crews joining the growing cloud of debris that painted orbital space in human blood. High Arbiter Quinnish felt a moment of savage satisfaction. As his fleet's superior numbers began to tell, the humans fought like devils, but they were still mortal. Their ancient allies were terrifyingly powerful, but there were only 15 of them against over 200 Council ships. "Maintain formation discipline," he pulsed to his commanders. "Accept losses. Our mission is planetary sterilization, not ship-to-ship combat." The Council fleet's sacrifice was terrible, but calculated. Heavy cruisers and battleships threw themselves at human ancient formations, trading their lives for tactical position. The super dreadnought Divine Justice rammed Morrison's Eternal Wrath at near-light speed, both vessels vanishing in a flash that temporarily outshone Sol itself. Morrison's death scream echoed across quantum frequencies. "Kestra, the outer formation is collapsing. They're going to." His words were lost in the explosion that claimed 100,000 lives in microseconds. But humanity's greatest admiral wasn't finished. As the Council fleet closed on Earth, Kestra Valdez made a decision that would echo through galactic history. She opened her consciousness fully to the ancient systems, allowing technologies older than multicellular life to flow through her human mind. The integration should have killed her instantly. Human neural architecture wasn't designed to process information from 16 different dimensional layers simultaneously. But Kestra Valdez had always been exceptional, and now she became something unprecedented, a human consciousness wielding ancient power with mortal fury. All remaining ships. Her voice resonated across impossible frequencies. Final formation, pattern last stand. We hold here. The 37 surviving human vessels formed a perfect sphere around Earth. Their ancient enhanced weapons creating overlapping fields of destruction that nothing could penetrate. But the Council fleet was sacrificing itself for position, trading ships for the chance to land a killing blow on humanity's homeworld. The heavy battleship Moral Authority broke through the human screen, her planetary bombardment cannons charging for a shot that would crack continental plates. Her captain, a veteran named X Quinn, transmitted his final message for the stability of galactic civilization. His ship died 3 seconds later, pierced by 17 different human weapons firing in perfect coordination, but 2 more Council vessels followed the path he'd carved through the defensive screen. Earth's awakened systems were fighting back, launching defensive platforms that had been hidden beneath ocean floors and mountain ranges for 10 million years. Ancient weapons that had once held entire sectors against the Devourers now turned their fury on the Council fleet, each shot precisely calculated to maximize enemy casualties. The Council's supercruiser Eternal Vigilance learned too late that Earth's North Pole housed a gravitational cannon capable of creating localized black holes. The ship and her crew of 50,000 simply collapsed into a point of infinite density, their matter compressed beyond the event horizon in nanoseconds. But for every Council ship that died, humanity bled to. The destroyer Sarah's Dream took a direct hit from a plasma torpedo, her captain barely 25 years old screaming defiance as her ship broke apart around her. The heavy cruiser Terra's wrath lasted longer, fighting 6 Council vessels simultaneously before her ammunition ran out, and enemy fire finally breached her reactor shielding. Space around Earth had become a graveyard where both sides paid in blood for every meter of tactical advantage. Debris fields marked the passage of proud vessels, their crews now cosmic dust mixing with the detritus of galactic warfare. High Arbiter Quindish, his flagship damaged but still functional, counted his losses with growing horror. Of his original 300 ships, fewer than 60 remain operational, but the humans had paid till their fleet was down to 18 vessels, and even their ancient allies had suffered casualties. That would have been unthinkable hours before. Sir, his tactical coordinator pulsed weakly, we have a firing solution on a third planet. 17 ships in bombardment formation, we can end this. Quindish stared at the tactical display, where Earth hung like a blue-green jewel surrounded by the corpses of 2 civilizations. Victory was within reach, but as he prepared to give the order that would murder 6 billion humans, Admiral Valdez's voice cut across all frequencies. One final time, you wanted to see what humanity becomes. When you threaten our children, let me show you. Admiral Kestra Valdez hung suspended in the command nexus of her transformed flagship. Her consciousness expanded across 17 different dimensional layers around her. Retribution's edge had become something beyond human engineering, part starship, part ancient weapon platform, part manifestation of humanity's collective fury. Toby, she called to her weapons officer, though her voice now carried harmonics that made reality itself shiver. Prepare the quantum torpedo batteries, full dispersion pattern. Tobias Kruger, his form partially merged with the ship's ancient enhanced targeting systems, nodded grimly. Mom, if we fire at full power, the energy drain will kill us all. I know. Kestra's enhanced senses could see the probability matrices stretching out from this moment, each timeline painted in shades of sacrifice and victory, but it will take them with us. Earth's awakened surface blazed with ancient installations coming online after 10 million years of dormancy. The planet itself had become a weapon, its magnetic field weaponized into a shield that deflected Council bombardment, its gravitational field manipulated to crush enemy ships that ventured too close. But High Arbiter Quindish's desperate gambit was working. 57 Council vessels had formed a bombardment sphere around Earth, their planet-killer weapons charging for a synchronized barrage that would crack the world's crust and boil its oceans. For every Council ship that died to Earth's defenses, 2 more took its place. Admiral, Communications Officer Okamoto reported, his consciousness now distributed across quantum frequencies. That allowed him to monitor 17 different battle zones simultaneously. The Hegemony flagship is preparing to fire. Stellar converter at maximum charge. If that beam reaches Earth, Kestra could see it herself, the massive weapon array aboard Divine Judgment drawing power from artificial stars contained within its hull. A single shot would turn Earth into a miniature sun, its population cremated in seconds of nuclear fire. Time to impact, she asked, her mind calculating trajectories across multiple dimensions. 3 minutes, 47 seconds. Not enough. Time to intercept with conventional weapons. But Kestra Valdez had stopped being conventional the moment she'd allowed ancient technology to flow through her human consciousness. All remaining ships, she transmitted to the 18 surviving human vessels. Form on my position. We're going to show the Council why the ancients were feared across the galaxy. The human fleet battered survivors who had volunteered to die rather than live as slaves converged on Earth's polar coordinates. Each ship was now part ancient technology, part human stubbornness, part concentrated fury at a galaxy that had marked their species for extinction. Captain Elena Vasquez's Defiant Freedom took position to Kestra's starboard, her heavy cruisers, hull glowing with quantum energies. Admiral, my ship's ancient systems are showing power levels that shouldn't be possible. If we channel all of this energy into a single coordinated strike, we'll either save our world or die trying. Kestra finished. I can live with those odds. The plan was insane by any rational tactical doctrine. 18 human ships would combine their ancient enhanced weapons into a single massive beam, channeling enough energy to destabilize local space-time. The resulting blast would destroy everything within a 10 million kilometer radius, including Earth itself, if the targeting calculations were off by even microseconds. But it was humanity's only chance. Weapons online, Kruger reported. His consciousness interfaced so deeply with the ship's systems that his human form was becoming translucent, All vessels report ready for synchronization. Through her expanded awareness, Kestra could feel the Council fleet positioning for their killing. Blow, 5 to 7 ships, their weapons arrays bristling with planet-killer technology. Their crews convinced they were about to end an existential threat to galactic civilization. They weren't entirely wrong. Fire, Kestra commanded 18 human vessels, unleashed their fury simultaneously, their combined beam carrying enough energy to ignite a small star. The blast tore through space-time itself, creating a dimensional rift that stretched across 3 star systems. Where it struck the Council formation, ships didn't just die, they were erased from multiple timelines simultaneously, their very existence retroactively negated. High Arbiter Quindish had a single second to comprehend his error before his flagship Divine Judgment ceased to exist across 17 dimensions. His final thought, transmitted through quantum foam as his consciousness dissolved, was a simple recognition: we awaken them too soon. The combined human being carved through the Council formation, like a sword of condensed starfire. Ships that had been the pride of galactic civilization, vessels that had maintained peace for 10,000 years, simply vanished as the dimensional rift consumed them. The super dreadnought Eternal Vigilance, the heavy cruiser Righteous Fury, the destroyer squadron Moral Certainty, all gone in an instant that rewrote local physics. But the human fleet paid the ultimate price for their desperate gambit. The energy required to fire such a weapon drained their ancient enhanced systems beyond recovery. One by one, the 18 vessels began to burn out from within as their crew's life forces were consumed. To power technologies meant for God's Captain Vasquez's defiant freedom died first, her hull becoming translucent as quantum energies tore her molecular structure apart. Her final transmission was barely recognizable as human speech: "Ma'am, it's been an honor." The destroyer Last Defiance followed seconds later, her crew of 300 volunteers becoming one with the cosmic background radiation. Then the heavy cruiser Terra's Vengeance, her captain screaming defiance as his ship dissolved around him. Admiral Kestra Valdez felt each death through her expanded consciousness. 17 brave crews sacrificing themselves to save their homeworld. Her own ship, Retribution's Edge, was holding together through pure force of will, her will, channeled through ancient systems that responded to determination as much as technical skill. "Ma'am," Kruger whispered, his form now more energy than matter, "the weapon cascade is complete. We got them all, every last Council ship." Through the bridge's transformed viewports, Kestra could see the aftermath of humanity's last stand. The space around Earth was empty of enemies, not even debris. Remained a mark where 300 of the galaxy's most advanced warships had died. The dimensional rift had consumed them completely, erasing their very existence from the quantum record. But victory had come at a cost that made her heart break. Of the 4 to 7 human vessels that had answered her call to defend Earth, only Retribution's Edge remained operational. 600,000 human lives had been sacrificed to prove that humanity would not go quietly into extinction. "Communications," she ordered, her voice somehow steady despite the grief threatening to overwhelm her enhanced consciousness. "Signal Earth. Tell them the Council fleet has been eliminated." Okamoto, his consciousness flickering between dimensions, managed a weak smile. "Ma'am, I'm receiving transmissions from the surface. Every major city, every settlement, every human habitat in the system. They're celebrating." 6 billion voices raised in joy, unaware of the price that had been paid for their survival. Children who would grow up free, artists who would create beauty among the stars, scientists who would unlock the remaining ancient mysteries, all because 18 ship crews had chosen death over surrender. But Kestra's enhanced senses detected something that made her blood freeze. Deep in the outer system, beyond the orbital debris of the gas giants, space was rippling with the energy signatures of incoming hyperspace jumps. The Council's elimination fleet had been just the first wave. "New contacts," she announced grimly. "Bearing 27-Mark-4. I count 3,000 vessels. Council heavy fleet, supported by hegemony battle groups and Dominion supercarriers." The real invasion was just beginning. The hyperspace rifts tore open like wounds in reality itself, disgorging a fleet so vast it blocked out the stars. 3,000 vessels of the Galactic Council's Grand Fleet, every super dreadnought, every planet killer, every weapon of mass destruction that the galaxy's oldest civilizations could muster. At their head flew the inevitable conclusion: a fortress ship 10 kilometers long and bristling with enough firepower to sterilize entire star systems. High Admiral Zephyron, Supreme Commander of Council Forces, surveyed the Sol system through sensors that could analyze molecular structures from light years away. What he saw defied every tactical projection his strategists had provided. Impossible. He pulsed to his bridge crew, his biomechanical form rigid with disbelief. Quintess's entire fleet, gone. 300 ships, simply erased. The space around Earth was empty except for debris fields and the energy signatures of weapons. That shouldn't exist. At the center of the devastation hung a single human vessel damaged, its hull glowing with residual ancient energies, but still defiantly operational. Admiral Kestra Valdez stood alone on the bridge of Retribution's edge. Her consciousness expanded beyond human limitations, but her heart still burning with the fury that had made her legendary. Through her connection to Earth's awakened systems, she could feel her homeworld's response to this new threat. Ancient installations coming fully online. Weapons that had held entire galactic sectors now turning their attention to the Council's grand fleet. Unknown human vessel. Zephyron's transmission crackled with the authority of 10,000 years of galactic dominance. You are Admiral Kestra Valdez, designated war criminal under Council Statute 77 Alpha. Surrender immediately, and your execution will be swift. Kestra's laughter echoed across 17 dimensions, carrying harmonics that made reality itself shiver. High Admiral, you seem to be under a misapprehension. You're not here to execute me. You're here to witness the birth of humanity's galactic empire. Behind her words, Earth itself began to sing. The planet's surface erupted in patterns of light that could be seen from the outer rim of the galaxy. Ancient installations buried beneath every continent came online simultaneously, their combined energy output dwarfing the Council fleet's total firepower. The Aurora Borealis became a crowd of weaponized plasma that reached out to caress nearby asteroids, transforming them into projectiles that could punch through dimensional barriers. But it was the moon that provided the greatest surprise. Luna had never been a natural satellite. As Earth's systems awakened, the moon revealed its true nature, a camouflaged ancient battle station, its surface splitting open to reveal weapon emplacements that had been waiting 10 million years. For this moment, the Sea of Tranquility wasn't a crater field. It was a focusing array for a beam weapon that could reach across star systems. By the void, Zephyron breathed, his biomechanical system struggling to process what his sensors were reporting. The entire system is a fortress. How did our surveys miss? Because your ancestors made sure you never looked closely. Kestra interrupted, her consciousness now interfaced with databases that contain the true history of galactic civilization. The Council wasn't founded to maintain peace, High Admiral. It was founded to contain us, to ensure that humanity never remembered what we were. Before your predecessors bombed us back to the Stone Age, the truth was in the data streams flowing through her expanded awareness. Archaeological records that had been classified for millennia, genetic analyses that proved humanity's direct descent from the ancients, tactical reports from a war fought before most Council species had developed writing. The ancients hadn't vanished mysteriously, they'd been murdered by their own children, species they'd uplifted who grew jealous of their creator's power. But a few had survived, hidden on a primitive world at the galaxy's edge, their memories suppressed, their technology buried. They called themselves humans, never knowing they were the last inheritors of an empire that had spanned 1,000 galaxies. Luna-based Admiral Valdez, a new voice cut across the communications ray, crisp, professional, and entirely impossible. This is Ancient Defense Platform Omega-7. We have target acquisition on all hostile vessels. Awaiting your orders. Kestra smiled, her human features now touched with the terrible beauty of ancient power. All platforms. You are weapons free. Show the Council what happens when they threaten our children. The moon opened fire. The beam that erupted from Luna's surface carried more energy than most stars produced in a year. It swept across the Council's grand fleet like a scythe through wheat, each pulse precisely calibrated to bypass shields and armor through principles that reduced matter to its component quarks. The super dreadnought Galactic Harmony lasted 3 seconds. The fortress ship Eternal Order managed 5. Zephyron's flagship, Inevitable Conclusion, survived long enough for its commander to transmit a final message. All Council forces, immediate retreat. Signal Fleet Command, humanity is not a level 3 species. There the ancients returned, but there would be no retreat. Earth's defensive grid had activated completely. creating a hyperspace interdiction field that extended to the edge of the star system. Every council ship that had come to witness humanity's execution was now trapped with the very gods. Their ancestors had tried to murder the battle, if it could be called, that lasted 17 minutes. When the weapons fell silent, 3,000 of the galaxy's most advanced warships had been reduced to component atoms. The space around Earth was clear except for the expanding clouds of matter that had once been the Council's grand fleet. Admiral Kestra Valdez stood alone on her bridge, no longer entirely human, but not yet fully ancient. Through her expanded consciousness, she could feel the shock waves rippling across galactic civilization as the news spread. Humanity was awake, and they remembered everything. Communications, she ordered, her voice now carrying harmonics that resonated through hyperspace itself, opened a channel to the Galactic Council's home systems. All frequencies. When the connection stabilized, her words reached every inhabited world in known space. This is Admiral Kestra Valdez of the Terran Ancient Defense Fleet. For 10,000 years, your leaders have lied to you about humanity's true nature. We are not a primitive species requiring pacification. We are the children of those who taught your ancestors to reach for the stars. The response was immediate panic transmissions from hundreds of council worlds, their governments realizing that the balance of power had shifted permanently. The species that had held galactic civilization in careful stasis for millennia were suddenly faced with the return of their creators. Your fleets are welcome in human space, Kestra continued, her words calm, but carrying the weight of technologies that could reshape reality. But they will come as guests, not conquerors. The age of council dominance is over. Humanity has remembered what we are, and we will take our rightful place among the stars. She closed the channel and turned to survey the empty space where the fleets had died. To birth a new galactic order, Earth hung behind her, its surface still glowing with the power of awakened ancient installations. 6 billion humans beginning to understand that their species' true adventure was just beginning. The Council had sent assassins to silence her. Instead, they had awakened the sleeping gods of galactic civilization, and at their head stood Admiral Kestra Valdez, no longer just a human commander, but the herald of humanity's return to the stars. In the depths of space, automated probes began broadcasting her story to every inhabited world. How a single woman's refusal to accept extinction had awakened the most powerful military force in galactic history. The tale would grow in the telling, becoming legend, then myth. But the truth was simpler and more terrifying than any story. Humanity was home among the stars, and they would never be silent again. The galaxy would never be the same.